Hi, and welcome to Amalgam Nation Presents World of Lorecraft, Native Craft Edition. Native Craft is going to be the native races of Azeroth. Those are races that were not created by the Titans and do not fall under other categories such as the Alien to Azeroth, the Dragonkin, Fel and Demonic races, or Nature and Eternals. So it will include races such as the Akir, Cenarius' children, Elf, Etten, Faceless Ones, Furbolg, Gnoll, Goblin, Grell, Harpy, Kobold, Magnetor, Makrura, Murloc, Pandaren, Pygmy, Quillbore, Tauren, Troll, Tuskar, and Wolvar. So we're going to start off with the Akir and work our way forward. So today's episode is called Akir Lore. The Akir are an old race. The races of the Nerubians, the Karaji, and the Mantid were once one people. The Akir until the Karaji warred with the Gurubashi and the Mani Troll empires, and after their culture was shattered, the Nerubians had to flee north. All of the three descendants of the Akir were or are under the control of an old god. The Karaji and the Silitids are minions of Khatun in Kalimdor. The Nerubians serve Yogg-Saron, though many of them were assimilated by the Scourge. Y'Shaarj was once an old god, taking residence in the lands of Pandaria. The Titans slew him thousands of years ago, freeing the Mantid from his control. Despite this, they still venerated him, and when Garrosh Hellscream released the heart of Y'Shaarj, they protected it. The Nerubians reminded Sylvanas Windrunner of tales of the thought-vanished Akir, giving some hints as to what they were like. History of the Akir. 16,000 years before the Orcs invaded Azeroth, the world was still made up of one large continent surrounded by the Great Sea. The ancient Titans had named the continent Kalimdor, land of eternal starlight, and in its middle they had long ago placed a lake of scintillating energies. The lake, which they named the Well of Eternity, was to be the fountain of life for the world. It is in this world that the Trolls ruled the eastern lands. No longer one united race, the Trolls in the north had formed the Empire of Zul'Aman, while their counterparts in the south had built up what they called the Gurubashi Empire. These Trolls, ever violent and aggressive, had managed to form a loose alliance that allowed them to defend their lands against a much larger threat that had taken control of the western parts of Kalimdor. This threat came from a third empire, the civilization of Akir. The Akir were intelligent insectoids who ruled the lands of the far west. These clever insectoids were greatly expansionistic and incredibly evil. The Akir were obsessed with eradicating all non-insectoid life from the fields of Kalimdor. The Trolls fought them for many thousands of years, but never succeeded in winning a true victory over the Akir. Eventually, due to the Trolls' persistence, the Akiri kingdom split in half as its citizens fled to separate colonies in the far northern and southern regions of the continent. Two Akiri city-states emerged, Azjol Nerub in the northern wastes and Ahn'Qiraj in the southern desert. Although the Trolls suspected that there were other Akiri colonies beneath Kalimdor, their existence was never verified. Possibly due to the environment, the two groups eventually became completely different beings, though whether this was a divide that had always existed remains unknown. The spider-like Nerubians populate the northern city of Azjol Nerub, while the more insectoid Karaji have taken up residence in Ahn'Qiraj. Thank you for listening. I was going to go into a bit more detail about the two different races mentioned in this, well, the main two different races mentioned in this, the Akir and the Nerubians, but well, the Karaji and the Nerubians, not the Akir and the Nerubians. But each one of them is far more detailed than the information on the Akir alone, and would take up the same amount of time as the average one of these vids about the lore does. So I'm going to split them into two separate vids and do them as bonus vids for you guys. That way, next week, you'll actually get 3 lore vids. Yes, I'm going to torture you with 3 lore vids on World of Warcraft next week. So once again, thank you for listening. As always, remember, play to game and game to play.